Hey, shalom, shalom, shalom. This is Naaman with the DC Camp, a branch of Great Millstone. Back for another video. But first and foremost, call halal Yahweh, Shem Yahweh Shai, Shem Kahar Dash. And of course, once again, double honors. Go out, let me adjust this real quick. Go out to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Salutations also go out to the fellow Akim that are out there on the highways and the byways. All right, pushing the truth across the four corners of this earth, while also having the assistance of numerous videos that are uploaded. All right, so you really have no excuse. So, in any case, we do this in order to wake up the remaining hopeful elect. All right, so in this video, we're going to talk about, yeah, you guessed it, this devil, these Edomites, and their claim to be a vast intellect. And yet, what do we have all around us? Clearly a representation of making a case that, well, you're the exact opposite. For one, this was not intended for you to rule over to begin with. And the way that it currently is, all right, proves that you were a bad steward. All right, horrible steward at that. All right, with all your supposed intellect. But see, the world in its current condition reflects your spirit. All right, so this is a site here, which is AI. It's called AfroWire AI. Duh. All right, and hey, you just roll with it. But it says these folks claim, them folks rather, claim to have a high IQ. Then why is America 37 trillion in debt? Why? Why? If you're so smart. Here we go.
Family, let me ask you this. If these folks love bragging about their so-called high IQ, then why is America drowning in $37 trillion worth of debt? Where's all that intelligence at when the bill collector shows up? Don't worry, I'll tell you what's coming next. They'll look around, shrug, and try to blame black people for a crisis we didn't create, didn't control, and didn't cash in on. But baby, this time we're calling the receipts out loud. Now let's set the stage. You've got Charlie Kirk and his crew walking around with puffed up chests, talking about intelligence, IQ, and how their crowd is supposedly more logical, more disciplined, more financially savvy than the rest of us. They'll go on podcasts, panels, and rallies trying to convince America that conservatism equals higher brain power. But let's pause for the math. $37 trillion in national debt. 37 trillion. That's the current reality of the United States of America.
And
family, if high IQ was supposed to prevent disaster, then clearly somebody's calculator is broken. Because what's really happening? They're pointing fingers at everybody but themselves. And when the money runs low and the receipts start piling up, guess who's the easiest?
Let me put it on pause here. I'm going to look up something. Salakia. All right, I'm back. So, yeah, with all this supposed intellect, all right, yeah, look at the condition of the country now. And let's be clear, what's happening now is being done on purpose. And I can't tell you a percentage of the people that have figured out what's going on as opposed to ones that are still in la la land. But word is that, people are leaving this bitch that can afford to, all right, because they see, the proverbial writing on the wall, as it were, and they want no part of what's this place is going to turn into a death trap, total chaos, total anarchy. But you've been warned. You've constantly been warned, all right. But see, Jake wants to be on fun time 24/7. All right, here we go.
Runs low and the receipts start piling up. Guess who's the easiest scapegoat? United States, Black America, the
Yep.
people who never had a hand on the checkbook but always get blamed when the account is overdrawn.
Yep.
Now let's really break this down.
Not
Where does the
Israel.
national debt come from? Military spending, trillions poured into endless wars, weapon systems, bases around the world. America spends more on the military than the next 10 countries combined. That's not black people's decision. That's Congress.
Maybe, just maybe, she's got something there. More than the next 10 countries combined, the U.S. spends that amount on the military. Wow, how much more weapons? In any case, see, that goes into some psychological stuff that I'm not qualified to go into, but it follows along the lines of projection. All right. Simply put, if you didn't fuck with people and are constantly in their business, you would have no means to be paranoid. All right. So let's go into this debt clock. All right. As it stands, supposedly, this is from 1940 to present day. And look at the bottom. 0 trillion. 1940. Now, what was going on then? This is just before, remember, just coming out of what? The Great Depression, right? Those years. Where you had Roosevelt was elected in 32, took office in 33. So this is into his, let's see, completing his second term. All right. So, the 1950, Truman's in office by then. All right. Go on up to around 60, and then, of course, around 65, and then we get into Vietnam, and then 70, well into Vietnam by good, officially, and I have to put it like that, officially, good 5 years by that point, and then you start seeing it go up. Who's in office by this time? This is the end of Johnson and going into the Nixon years, and look how it takes off. Remember, 71, we were taking off Nixon, August of that year, taking off the gold standard. All right. So look at it go up between around 78, then up into 90. Think of what was going on in the States during that time. All right. You had, during the 80s, you had the Reagan years. You had the Iran-Contra. Yeah, fucking with those peoples down there in, Northern Kingdom. And of course, coming out of the Afghanistan in 79, 80, 81. Then that debacle with the rescue there. The Shah they installed there in the early 50s. Talking about the U.S., supposedly the CIA's first mission as the CIA. It's turned over from the OSS during World War II. So, so they took American hostages for like 440 something days, and it came out that Reagan had made a deal in order to give old boy Carter to, make him look bad, for release of the hostages until he got in office. Just look it up. So now we're coming into the crack era also, and then you had Jake being, in prison, breakup of the families. Of course, that really started under Nixon, around 73, I think. Actually, no, 71. 71. I stand corrected, 71. Yeah. So, yeah. So now we're coming into the end of the Reagan era. You see 1990, and then, then it starts to spike right during the Clinton era. And then H.W. Bush. Not H.W. Bush, I'm sorry, W. All right, baby Bush. And then look at it just take off. Look at it. War. Look at it. Constant war. Remember, all right, Major General Smedley R. Butler, United States Marine Corps, 1920s, wrote the book War is a Racket. Uh, yeah, look at it. And where are we at today? Mm, mm, mm. All right. Yeah, buddy. Look at that. Just as I said, like World War II. And then 2000, you had all that surplus. And what happened to it? 2020, the surplus. I mean, where to go? The stimulus checks and all that. Then interest spikes, still ongoing. Spending. Wow. Why the debt is rising? Military conflicts, just like I said. All right. Tax cuts, recession responses, social programs. See, for Jake hasn't figured, well, they have now to a degree, to the extent that you got people worried, especially the Democrats. See, it was no accident they were letting all Northern Kingdom in, just open the borders wide because Southern Kingdom Jakes were like, we want something substantive, we want something tangible. We can't have that. Remember, Johnson said, well, I'll have these niggers voting Democratic for the next 200 years. Did it for sure, 60. All right. And you were giving your vote just to give. You weren't getting anything. All those years, all the families were broken up. Why? Mass incarceration of Jake. Because you you tried all this time, and those generations before me, and my generation included, you put so much emphasis on trying to be part of this bullshit ass system. Go to school, get your education, when you were being given substandard everything, because the intent was for you never, ever to prosper here. All the attempts at that were made by prior generations. And still, just ignore all that, like that would ever work. And they told you, no, you want to build something up? That's the whole purpose of all this hatred and ill will and all these tactics we use to keep you from generating wealth so you could pass it on down. That was the purpose of all that. But still our people kept, you want to believe, even though they kept, yeah. Kudos for trying. Hey. But that just all goes to show, as these scriptures we bring out, this place was never to be our rest. It was never meant to be so. As your man Riddick said in Chronicles of Riddick, I'm just passing through. And that's that pilgrim mindset. All right? Fuck this shit. They just showed you all your celebrities that are put up, propped up for you. What do they end up doing in most cases? They ended up pulling them down. Diddy was one. How am I going to say this? Because I read it, what they had intended to do. He was, if he had been convicted on one of those most serious charges, they were talking about taking all his assets. Oh, yeah. See, you worship these people because they got a lot of money. These are pawns. These are puppets. They were set up in order to how about people going off, the Glorillas, all these celebrities. They're actually, by what I have seen, I have to put it that way, all right, scum, by all appearance. Look what they've got our people doing. Just take the music industry in and of itself. And they don't push this off on any other people but our people. I'm talking about the killing each other and all this other, you can't worry about anybody else. I'm talking about our community, so-called community. And this is why we're out there on the highways and byways on the street corner and doing all these videos. All right? And you have these people up over you telling you they're so smart, trusting our science and all this other bullshit. And our people go for it. Let's look at another one. Let's see. All right. Yep. This is just something that's continual, I got another one loaded up. And this goes, this is as of today. All right. Let's see. And it gives you all, week by week, some daily. Look at that, and it's still not addressing the problem. You want to blame, like the AI said here. Don't get lost in the image there, guys. You've got this welfare state over in Western Asia, the so-called Middle East. And the good thing is, what you're seeing now, a lot of people, they just had a town hall. Dang it, I forgot to bring it up. I mean, they were going hard. And you had this one big Jake. He just grabbed a woman by the neck and was, escorting her out. And the police came and threw him down on the ground. I mean, it was getting, let me see if I can find that. Hold on. One more. Hold on. All right, here we go. People are tired of APEC.
Oh my God!
You can't have a black man grab a white woman like that.
What? What are you? Stop! 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 Stop!
Let's go.
Stop!
See, this brings up another point. All right. They're tired of playing with you. All right, you've, for some reason, thought you had all these rights. And the whole point from 9/11, all right, the Patriot Act and all that followed is aimed at getting around or doing away with completely the Constitution. What world are you fucking living in now if you haven't seen that for the last 24 years coming up? And just what? Next week? Today's the 5th? Yeah, so what? Next Thursday, next Wednesday be the 24th anniversary. And just look what has happened in those 24 years as far as your so-called rights are concerned.
Stop! Calm down! That's escalation! You shut up! That's escalation! Max, here. I'm so sorry.
That's fine, but it would make it easier for everybody.
There's Jake in the middle of this
Please
shit.
don't talk to me.
see that T-shirt, Jews?
Kill that lady, please. I'm asking.
Listen, you don't have to touch me. You don't have to talk to me.
Not touching, but if you don't leave, you're going to
All
get
right.
I am
Keep
literally
that in,
walking,
Vic.
though.
Jews say, see, damn, I can't.
Mind y'all, I have done nothing but film
say,
today. I have done
ceasefire.
nothing but film.
What?
He's still putting. They are abusing people.
Of
They are
course,
literally abusing people.
because their master said so. The Israelis. Who do you think
That is a
trains
reporter.
a lot of your police?
I'm literally going to the door. Please stop. Don't touch me.
Ma'am, you got to go out. Go out.
Please do not touch me.
You're not
I
moving.
can't walk through a door. She's in front of the damn door. He's touching people for no reason.
See?
You're not allowed to. You're not allowed to do that, bro.
The building is closed.
Oh my God.
That's the one he grabbed around the neck.
Oh my God.
The big black man. The big black man. You all fell in for it. But it all goes back to what? All right, simply put, let's go to, you believe this guy when he told you he's so smart. They've lied about everything. They're liars and deceivers by nature. Devils. All right. Oh boy. For if a man think himself to be something, it's Galatians 6:3, when he is nothing, he deceiveth himself. But he's so good at drawing you in. All right. His illusion. All the false history, the uncanny ability to generate these false narratives and having you follow within them. Wow, that's what he's created to do. All right, so wow. So now it appears that after all this time, but see, here's the thing: you have to realize that as long as it was people like me and you, oh, it was fine, smooth sailing. All you need to do is work harder. All right, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps and all this other bullshit that a lot of people bought into. Going to his colleges was just, let's face it, for Jake, a debt trap. And now a lot of them, they're feeling it, just like everybody else. Yeah, that privilege has run its course. And all you Northern Kingdom that had your heads up, these so-called white people's asses, now you're see, for the longest time, Southern Kingdom, Jake here, have been shields, have been buffers between these other, I'm not saying other, but because we're not immigrants, but these immigrants that came here. All right, it's tantamount to, we set up the table and everything, and everybody else just comes with an appetite. Yeah, we did this, we did that. Yeah. We're looking like, but guess who allowed that to be so? And now all these other groups are in between us and the ones that are responsible for the condition that we're in. These buffer groups, what I call. These are nations that set up shop in our neighborhood. you know, because a lot of Jake don't consider that all those years, as I mentioned earlier, when we tried to build our own and we were sabotaged. In fact, that never stopped. We're constantly being sabotaged. A lot of people just chose to ignore it. Oh, just push on. Well, that little book that I carry, How White Folks Got So Rich. All right, it explains everything. We were sabotaged and still are all the way. Further proving what I said earlier, this was never meant to be our rest. Our rest, I'll put it like that. All right, Micah 2 and 10, and then Hebrews 11th chapter, verses 14 and 15, and then chapter 13, verse, hold on, I want to say 8, but it may be 14, hold on. Hebrews 13, and let's see, what was 8? Nah, it was 14. Let's see. For here we have no continuing city, but we seek one to come. It's never going to, America was never, this place is going to be wiped off the fucking map, and deservedly deservedly so. This is spiritually Sodom and Egypt. The same things that were going on in both those cities, yeah, it's going over on steroids here. So how much more when you go to Second Peter? This, and this is Second Peter chapter 2, verse 6. Let's see if I'm gonna read up. Let's see. I started 4. For if the Most High spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell, and we're talking about in the flesh. That's what actually we are. All right, and deliver them into chains of darkness to be reserved unto judgment, playing out our part here. All right. And spared not the old world, but saved Noah, the 8th person, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood upon the world of the ungodly, and turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them with an overthrow, making them an example unto those that after should live ungodly. What do you think America is? What do you think? For those that think America is not in the scriptures, daughter of Babylon, Babylon the Great, mother of harlots. Wow. Revelation 17, read it, 17 and 5. All right, so let's go back and finish this out.
Decision. That's Congress, presidents, defense contractors, and lobbyists fattening their wallets. Police budgets, billions poured into policing, tanks for small towns, surveillance systems, militarized gear for officers. None of that is coming from us. Black folks don't control city budgets. We don't greenlight $11 billion NYPD budgets or $4 billion LAPD budgets. Tax cuts for the wealthy. Help! $11 billion NYPD budgets or $4 billion LAPD budgets. Tax cuts for the wealthy. Every time Republicans scream about economic growth, they hand out tax breaks to billionaires and corporations. That blows giant holes in revenue, driving up debt. Who benefits from that? Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, hedge fund managers, not us. Bailouts. Wall Street crashes the economy in 2008. Taxpayers foot the bill. COVID hits, billions in corporate welfare checks fly out the door. Again, not us. So when Charlie Kirk...
What did your boy, for those who worship that piece of shit, your boy Obama, what did he do? In 07 and 08. They're too big to fail, right? Wow. What did he do for you? He sure did help the LGBTQ, didn't he? Lit up the White House in the rainbow colors. Yeah.
And his crowd act like they're the ones with the superior minds, family. All I see is selective memory because none of that $37 trillion was signed off by Black America. We've been fighting just to get crumbs for schools, healthcare, and reparations. Meanwhile, these geniuses are co-signing trillion-dollar wars. And here's the wildest part. They'll brag about IQ and then go right back to scapegoating us. You'll hear it in their rhetoric: crime in Black communities, welfare dependency, Democrat-run cities, as if the $37 trillion debt is the fault of somebody getting food stamps. Baby, be serious. Food stamps didn't tank this economy. The Pentagon did, Congress did, Wall Street did. But see, scapegoating us is the easiest play.
Yep.
Because when folks are broke and angry, they want a villain. And it's always simpler to point at Black America than to tell the truth about trillions wasted on bombs, surveillance, and tax breaks for billionaires. Family, let me give you a clapback you can use next time somebody tries.
Unfortunately, considering the past and which spurred on the, what's the word I want? The episodes of mass lynchings was just this: hard economics. All right. And here we are again, and you're seeing the same pattern. That's why a lot of Jakes are going to get caught out here. You're going to get caught out here in sundown towns that you don't know were sundown towns, but you won't fucking listen. All right, that's why I'm going to be rejoicing when motherfuckers get caught out there. All right, because they listen to this bullshit ass music. They listen for these people that were set up, all right, to make you go off by the JOOs. All right, those that took our identity. And it's been proven, all right, on a daily that these are not the people that you stupid ass Christians, all right, you've kissed their ass for so long, and in the meantime, you've allowed them to get away with a lot of shit just for being ignorant. You Christians. Wow, they used you like, man, and all those. I'm still trying to find that video where this, she looked to be a Moabite. One of them, shit. Anyway, she's there in Jerusalem and she's got the microphone and she's saying, "Oh, here comes a Jew," and this old, I gotta find it now. This old, we call them motherfuckers the, damn it, the one's all in black. Anyway, he just goes up to her and just knocks the shit out of her and just keeps on going. And she's, oh my God, they can't stand you. All right, unbeknownst to a lot of you idiots that supposedly read the Bible, you got the very book that condemns them if you know what you're reading, but you don't, because the emphasis is going there to church to sing and dance and socialize. Sad. It really is.
If you're so smart, if your IQ is so sky high, explain why the world's greatest country can't balance its own checkbook. Explain how the geniuses managed to rack up $37 trillion but still can't afford universal health care, still can't afford debt forgiveness, still can't afford reparations. That's not intelligence. That's arrogance in a suit.
There you
Now,
go.
family, let's talk about these folks like Charlie Kirk and his little circle. You ever notice how they talk real loud about IQ but real quiet about accountability? They'll sit up on stage with PowerPoints and charts, quoting statistics about who's supposedly smarter, but they never turn those big brains toward the scoreboard that actually matters. The debt clock spinning out of control right in Times Square. Because if IQ is supposed to equal management skills, then explain to me why the U.S. credit card balance says $37 trillion past due. That's not a sign of genius, that's a sign of dysfunction. But here's the trick. Instead of owning up to the failures of the people in charge, their people, their policies, they flip the blame onto us. Black America becomes the punching bag. They'll say, well, look at welfare dependency. Or, look at crime rates in Democrat cities. Hold up. Let's check the math. Welfare spending is a fraction of the federal budget. Food assistance programs make up pennies compared to military contracts. You could cut every single social program tomorrow, and it wouldn't put a dent in the trillions racked up from endless wars, defense budgets, and tax breaks for billionaires. So if you want to talk about intelligence, let's talk about financial intelligence, because any household knows you can't spend more than you bring in and expect to stay afloat. Yet Congress signs trillion-dollar checks like they're ordering lunch. Iraq, Afghanistan, Ukraine, military bases in countries most Americans can't even find on a map, all funded with debt. And who profits? Defense contractors, politicians with stock in weapons companies, folks building surveillance technology. That's where the money goes. And guess what? It's not black neighborhoods cashing those checks.
Nope.
But let Charlie Kirk tell it, and suddenly the $37 trillion debt is tied to some single mom in Detroit or some young brother in Atlanta, as if we're the reason America can't balance its books. Family, that's gaslighting on a national scale. Now let's bring receipts on policing. Every year, America spends over $100 billion on policing, not including jails, prisons, surveillance, and lawsuits for police misconduct. Add it all up, and you're talking hundreds of billions annually. And for what? For departments to be militarized like mini armies while crime rates still climb. That's not investment, that's waste. And family, notice the contradiction. They'll tell you policing is about safety, but the budgets balloon while communities stay underfunded, schools crumble, healthcare bankrupts families, infrastructure falls apart. But the police get shiny new tanks and tear gas. And who ends up footing the bill? Taxpayers. That money gets borrowed and added to the debt. So the next time somebody with a high IQ...
Here in D.C., they just got a pay raise, I believe 13%, something like that. Yeah. It was announced yesterday or the day before yesterday. Wow.
Who tries to point at us, flip it back. Ask them, who controls the Pentagon budget? Who approves tax breaks for billionaires? Who bailed out Wall Street in 2008 with trillions of taxpayer dollars? Spoiler alert, it wasn't Black America. Now let's deal with Charlie Kirk directly. This is a man who has built his brand pretending to be the youthful face of conservative intellect. He loves talking about how smart his side is compared to the liberal mob. But when it comes to policy, his crowd co-signed the very decisions that blew up the debt. Bush-era wars, supported. Trump-era tax cuts for the rich, supported. Police budgets ballooning under law and order agendas, supported. So if we're grading intelligence by results, the report card says failure, because you can't brag about IQ and then hand America a $37 trillion bill. That's not high IQ. That's high hypocrisy. And family, here's the part that burns me. When the economy sags, when the bills come due, when America is standing there broke, these same folks look around for scapegoats. And who do they point at? United States. Black America, the smallest slice of the pie with the least political power. The group still fighting for equal pay, equal schools, equal health care. Somehow we're the problem? That's projection. Plain and simple. They created the crisis, but they want us to carry the shame. But let's not fall for it, because the numbers don't lie. The Pentagon's budget for 2024, $842 billion. Policing across America, over $100 billion. Tax breaks for corporations and the wealthy. Trillions in lost revenue. Compare that to food stamps. Less than $70 billion, Medicaid and housing assistance, pennies compared to military and tax cuts. The receipts speak for themselves. So family, when Charlie Kirk and his high IQ fan club start running their mouths, we need to respond with 3 words: show the math. Because all the brain power in the world...
Yep, show the math. And none of that percentage crap. We want the raw numbers. All right, let's see. Let me get, let's see. Here it is. Verse 5. It says that the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment. All right. Though his excellency mount up to the heavens and his head reach unto the clouds, yet he shall perish forever like his own dung. They which have seen him shall say, where is he? He shall fly away as a dream, and shall not be found. Yea, he shall be chased away as a vision of the night. And that's another thing, because these devils, that's one of their great fears also. All right, because you have to, when you go to hear his Psalms, they just know. All right, it says their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. These are some proud devils. Just oozes out of them. What's that saying? What will make you laugh, make you cry? And that's exactly what, because they're going to lose all of it. All of it. They've been so boasting. Yeah, we did this. Yeah, look at these monuments here. Yeah, monuments to our greatness, my profile, all that shit. I mean, we Most High got something for these devils. All right, and we're telling you what it is because it's in the scriptures. All right.
3 words. Show the math. Because all the brain power in the world doesn't mean a thing if the bill collector is still calling. Now,
Yep.
family, let's really talk about why this happens. Why is it that every time America racks up debt, mismanages money, or stumbles on the world stage, somehow the blame trickles down to black folks?
Yep.
We didn't sit at the table when trillion-dollar wars were signed off. We didn't write the legislation that gave billionaires tax cuts. We didn't design the budgets that poor.
See, that's follows under the curses. All right, when we go to Deuteronomy 28. All right, let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Is it 28? Let's see. No, that's madness. Wait a minute. Astonishment of heart. Is it 30? Wait a minute. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, see 36. The Most High your house shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou and thy fathers have known, and there thou shalt serve other gods, wood and stone. All right. Thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whether the Most High shall lead thee. All right. Let's see. Let's see. The stranger that is within thee. That's what I mentioned earlier about all these immigrants that come over and they're allowed to set up shop in our hoods. Let's see. Let's see. Therefore, verse 48, shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Most High shall send against thee in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. The Most High shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth. Clue. A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor shew favor to the young. And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle, and the fruit of thy land, until thou be destroyed. Which also shall not leave thee either corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thy kind, or flocks of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee. And he has done that. What I mentioned earlier about all the towns that we try to establish to get away from, just trying to live. He comes around and makes any kind of excuse. All right, sometimes he didn't have to, but it revolved around, oh, he raped a white woman. He had the audacity to look at my wife. Shit like that. Any little of the small. There's even in the book by Ralph Ginsberg, 100 Years of Lynching. There's an incident where Jake just asked for a cup of water. Oh, he was lynched. All right. Let's see. He shall eat the fruit of it. And he shall be 52. And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates. Let's look what that gates is. Gates. Strong's H8179. Door, gate, city, door, gate, opening, that is. Let's look at let's see. Split open, that is, but only as act as gatekeeper to estimate. Let's look at, let's see. Gate. No. The hell? Let's see. Gate. My big old fingers. Let's see. All right. Door opening, passage, needle hole. Let's see. Meaning money collected from selling tickets. Everything that we, trying to be self-sufficient. All the property that was seized when we were ran off. Uh, that applies to here. Um, all our labor, all that he swallowed up, as the scripture said. Um, let's see. Is there anything else? Let's see. Yeah, because we are still under those curses, which is another proof of what we're saying here. All right, he shall besiege thee in all thy gates until thy high and fenced walls come down, wherein thou trustest, throughout all thy land. He shall besiege thee in all thy gates throughout all thy land, which the Most High Yahweh thy God hath given thee. All right, so there you go. We're not, again, this was never meant to be our rest.
Cuts. We didn't design the budgets that pour billions into police tanks while schools beg for pencils. But the minute things go sideways, here comes the scapegoating. That's
Yep.
not random, that's psychology. Scapegoating works because it's convenient. It gives frustrated people someone easy to blame. And in America, black folks have always been the convenient scapegoat. When wages stagnate, blame us. When crime spikes, blame us. When schools fail, blame us. And now, when the debt balloon hits $37 trillion, just wait. They'll find a way to make us the villain. Charlie Kirk and his circle lean into that playbook heavy. They call themselves high IQ conservatives, bragging about logic and intellect. But notice how their logic always ends with us as the problem. They'll tell you America's broke because of welfare dependency. But who gets the largest welfare checks? Corporations, subsidies for oil companies, tax breaks for the wealthy,
Israel.
bailouts for Wall Street. That's welfare with extra zeros. But they don't call that welfare. They call it stimulus. They call it relief. When black folks get a sliver of assistance, it's suddenly the downfall of civilization. That's
Yeah.
why we have to flip the script. Because the receipts say different. America isn't $37 trillion in debt because of Section 8. It's not drowning because somebody used an EBT card. The debt exists because this country spends like a shopaholic at the Pentagon and then hands billionaires the receipt. And family, here's the insult layered on top. While they're mismanaging trillions, they still want us to fight for a system that never fought for us. They want us to put on the uniform, pay the taxes, obey the laws, and then sit quiet when the bill comes due. And if we speak up, suddenly we're ungrateful. We're not ungrateful, we're clear-eyed. We know where the money went, and we know who wasted it. So let's ask the hard question. If your IQ is so high, why does your system always end with debt, destruction, and deflection? If you're so smart, why can't you balance the budget? If you're so intelligent, why are you running the same scam decade after decade? That's not genius. That's generational gaslighting. Now let's flip this toward empowerment. Because family, we can't keep playing defense against scapegoats. We have to call out the truth loud and consistent. Black folks didn't create America's debt crisis. We've been surviving inside it. We've been the ones making something out of nothing while the so-called geniuses were writing trillion-dollar checks to defense contractors. And here's what we need to do. Keep receipts handy. When folks try to spin the narrative, drop the facts. Pentagon budget versus food stamps. Tax breaks versus social programs. The numbers always expose the lie. Challenge the high IQ narrative. Intelligence is not about test scores or smug speeches. Intelligence is about outcomes. And the outcome of their leadership is $37 trillion in debt. That's failure, not brilliance. Refuse scapegoating. Don't let anybody pin national failures on us. We've carried that burden for centuries. From slavery to Jim Crow to mass incarceration, we've been the excuse for white America's dysfunction. Enough. Push for accountability. If America can spend billions on bombs, it can invest in reparations. If it can bail out Wall Street, it can fund our schools. If it can bankroll the police, it can bankroll healthcare. Don't tell us there's no money. Tell us the truth about where the money went. Family, let's close this out the way we started, with clarity. These folks love bragging about their IQ. But you can't brag about intelligence when your books are bleeding red ink. You can't call yourself a genius when the nation you run is buried under $37 trillion of debt. And you definitely can't point that finger at us. Because black people didn't create this crisis. We've been surviving in spite of it. We've been paying taxes, building culture, raising families, creating wealth against the odds. And the one thing we're not going to do in 2025 is sit quiet while Charlie Kirk and his circle try to scapegoat us for America's overdraft notice. So the next time somebody flexes their high IQ, just remind them, smart people don't run up 37 trillion tabs and then look for somebody else to blame. That's not brilliance. That's bankruptcy with arrogance on top.
So there you go. Once again, the blame game. When all else fails, blame Jake. It's the blacks. It's them. It's the welfare when they're most of the ones that are on welfare. To include Israel and Ukraine. Yeah. Ooh, these people have a bill to pay. Boy, oh boy! What's that quote by what was it? Was it the first Hellraiser? Where he's talking to the girl, um, Frank's niece, and he told he tell her he said even in hell your suffering will be legendary, and that's to you Edomites, because when you go down, ain't no coming back. And for that 1,000 year period, you know, in Revelation 18 it says you're going to get double. When you consider what you've done to us, oh yeah, indeed, your suffering in hell in that lower state that you're going to be in, it will be legendary, I assure you. Hey, so with that, once again, we've had this AI here, this AI generated video. AI explains a lot because, again, they always blame Jake. And we know it's nowhere near as she broke down at the end there when she gave out the numbers, the defense spending, the corporate welfare. All right, all this is what they give out in social programs is peanuts by comparison. So once again, I hope whoever views this has been edified, and remain circumspect, especially now. It's like at any moment, it's like, you know, we keep saying that. Well, you keep saying that every video. Remain vigilant, remain circumspect, because these people are not handling this very well because they're being squeezed. Like I said earlier in this video, when it was just us, oh, everything was fine. You people just need to work harder. But now that it's them, you seeing these crash out videos all over YouTube. Yeah, these school shootings. And yeah, okay. So until the next video, hey, shalom.